Now more than ever, transportation business owners need industry experts at every stage in their company's life cycle. We bring them to you in the hot seat.
Welcome to In the Hot Seat with the Tenney Group. I'm Spencer Tenney. We've got a great show for you today. With us, we have Chad Autry, head of the Department of Supply Chain Management at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Chad, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Well, before we heat things up, why don't we just take 30 seconds, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe some of the work that you're doing over there at UT.
Absolutely. We at the University of Tennessee are a full-scope supply chain management program where we teach undergraduate students, graduate students, and executives all about what's happening in the world of supply chain every day. We're an end-to-end shop, so we think about everything in the supply chain, all the way from planning to sourcing to making to delivering. We do it all here. We do research, we teach students, and we do outreach into the public, and so it's always great to be able to talk to someone like yourself because we get to kind of spread the gospel of supply chain a little bit.
Well, I'm excited about the spreading of that information. And one thing that I also wanted to point out is that you're also the FedEx Professor of Supply Chain Management as well, which that's quite a title to add to your resume as well. So again, we appreciate you being here and spending some time with us. So let's jump right in there. Lots of stuff going on right now. People talking about things related to supply chain, maybe more than they ever have. How is that affecting the interest level of supply chain management on the campus level?
It's been amazing to watch how our discipline has evolved over the last year. Many people prior to the pandemic hadn't really ever talked about supply chain with their friends and their neighbors and their relatives. And so as soon as we all started running out of things like baby wipes and hand sanitizer, and then later on office supplies and things of that nature. Suddenly, supply chains began to be talked about in kind of common vernacular, and now we're seeing that happen even more because obviously the supply chain that supports the vaccines that have been manufactured and are now being distributed around the world are really important if we're ever going to kind of conquer this thing. And so I get lots and lots of calls these days about the supply chains of those types of products, and in the university environment, more and more attention is being paid to supply chain management as more and more people come to the university, like our universities like mine and others, to learn a little bit more about it, and then perhaps go into a career where they'll be doing some of those exciting things. And so it's a great time to be a supply chain academic, and it's maybe even a better time to be a supply chain professional. So we're out there making more and more of those every day.
Well, I'm very excited to, I think there's going to be some excellent insights from all of the things that you just described there. But, I think that our audience is going to be interested both on two things. One, what you're working on, but also, what's going on with your students, because that's a big part of talent, things that they're needing to drive the business into the future. So let me just start with you. What's some of the research that you're working on right now that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, over at our shop, we are really looking to take the supply chain into the future. So things that I'm working on particularly have to do with the digitalization of the supply chain, how we're beginning to swap bits and bytes for pieces of inventory. And so it's kind of exciting because it's allowing us to do other things down the chain, like optimize shipments and get the right loads and everything. And so if we use information a little bit better, then everybody gets better inventory fill, and we all save in terms of efficiencies. And so I've been working a little bit on the digital side for a while, and how the Internet of Things is going to later on cause us some early on, I guess, some disruptions in supply chains, but then later on greater efficiencies as well. As soon as your refrigerator can begin to order milk for you, everything becomes a little more streamlined. And then when your car lets AutoZone know that it needs an oil change, that's a good thing for the supply chain too, because we're just getting greater and greater visibility into what customers are wanting, and that at the end of the day is what this is all about. So those are the types of things I've been working on lately. In terms of our students, this is a banner year for our department. We now are over 1,000. In fact, we're over 1,300 supply chain management students at the University of Tennessee. So that there's about a 1 in 9 chance if you're a UT Knoxville student that you're a supply chain major or a supply chain concentration. So that's pretty cool. I wouldn't have said that 20 years ago when we were a little boutique program here in the East Tennessee hills, but now we are one of the largest majors on campus, if not the largest at this point. And more often, companies are coming to us and saying, "Hey, how can I be a part of that? How can I, get a hold of some of those students so that they can come to work for me?" And so
Definitely.
we're putting together an apparatus to make that happen.
So let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, when we start talking about supply chain management, there's so many different sections within that and specialties within that. So, what are the areas that you see your students most drawn to as they enter the program?
It's really interesting. There's 2 or 3 kind of thought processes that students have when they come in. A lot of them, if they come out of families that have been where family members have been in logistics perhaps in the past, a lot of them come in and they want to do transportation, and that's great. We've been in the transportation program since the 1940s, and so we often have students come in where their father or their grandfather or their mother or their grandmother was a logistician in some form, and so if they come in and they say, "Hey, I would love to get into the third-party logistics world," or "I would love to get into transport," we're here for them. That's great. But we are also seeing some new types of positions pop up versus what we had 30, 40 years ago. And a lot of students come in and they want to be on the procurement side, the sourcing side. They want that exciting career where they can go around the world and they can look for the newest gadget or the better material, and they can go help a manufacturing company procure that and get that into their process. And so those jobs can be just amazing for the right type of person, somebody with a little itch to travel and go inspect plants and go test products. That can be great for those students. And we also have some kind of corporate planning type jobs that students are going into. A lot of people want to go into forecasting and demand management and things of that nature. So it really kind of runs the whole spectrum. We have manufacturing managers come out. We have customer service managers come out. But a lot of it is just, kind of depends on what that person's skills are. The cool thing about supply chain is everybody's got some skill that applies to it. And so it's really just finding that niche for you, what's right for you as a student.
I think that's a great little insight there. So I'm curious, when you have recruiters or companies that come in and they're really trying to capture the talent that they need to go next level to build the future, what's something that these existing transportation logistics companies misunderstand about the talent and your students that are coming out and getting into the workforce?
So it's interesting, especially at the undergraduate level. A lot of our students are kind of now in that group they've called Generation Z. So it's not Gen Y; it's the one after Gen Y, and those students are motivated very differently than I'm a Gen Xer, and a lot of my colleagues are in Gen Y or they're baby boomers. But the Gen Z is a whole new breed, and a lot of companies are not sure yet exactly how to recruit them, how to retain them. And so we do a lot of talking to our executive partners about what the student of today actually looks like, what they value in a job situation, and what it is that kind of keeps the fire sparked with them. And so in many cases, it's really just giving them the opportunity to demonstrate their value kind of early on, and then giving them some exciting projects to work on. And they're some of the hardest workers you'll ever see. So this is a great time to be hiring in supply chain if that's something that you're ready to do, because the supply of graduates is greater than it's ever been before, and those graduates are really ready to hit the ground and create value immediately. So it's a good time for hiring companies.
I think that's wonderful. So for the students, what do you notice? What are they? I mean, you kind of alluded to some of this a little bit earlier, but what are some of the because obviously there's your traditional players that are probably active partners of the program itself, very large. You have the Amazons, the FedEx, and great companies. But what would you say to the small to mid-sized companies that are also competing for this talent? How can they differentiate themselves from proven, trusted brands in this space when they're trying to make a case like, hey, we have a great opportunity for you?
Well, so yeah, a lot of that's going to come down to creating a workplace environment that empowers employees from an early stage. So when my parents, kind of came out of college and I came out of college, you were looking for a job, and this generation is looking for an adventure. And so in that sense, you want to immediately begin to connect them to how what they're doing makes the world better. We have a lot of students that leave here and they go to very small firms, or they sometimes even hang out their own shingle, doing a supply chain task. And the thing that keeps them invigorated and makes them want to stay there is that ability to have an impact. And Gen Z students especially want to impact not just the company they work for, but they want to impact the world and society at large, and so you want to draw a direct line between what you're doing and how people of the world are going to benefit from that. And so if they can make that case, and almost everybody can if they think about it, sky's the limit, and you'll get some of the very best talent.
Well, listen, we'll finish up with the little wild card, sir. I know that you've got some Sooner in your background, so I'm just going to put it down. You got to go do another PhD. And you got to either go to the University of Texas or you got to go to Oklahoma State.
Oh, wow.
What's it going to be?
That's the wrong color of orange for my wardrobe. You may not know where the Tennessee orange came from, but the Tennessee orange came from this species of wildflower that's indigenous to East Tennessee, and it can really only be found between kind of where I live and the Virginia border, and that's where that orange came from. That orange that I believe my friend Brian Bosworth put it best. That one from Austin looks like puke, and the one from Stillwater looks like a road sign. And so that's the person that I kind of looked up to as a child, and I think he had it right. But I am a Tennessee volunteer now through and through, but I still have a little Boomer Sooner in my back pocket when I need it.
Well, I didn't figure that either one of those would be an acceptable path for you either way, but But hey, listen, Chad, I really appreciate you taking the time here. Your insights very helpful to our industry. We look forward to continuing the conversation in the future. For now, that's going to do it. Thanks for being in the hot seat. We'll see you next time.